Hey Curtis, what do you got for us this week?
Hey Oz, this week we got For Your Consideration meets Miss Congeniality meets Fargo crossed with a pinch of Orange is the New Black.
Oh,
This week we're watching 1999's Drop Dead Gorgeous.
just a pinch. Just a pinch. So, welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, that podcast that you listen to, where we come up with a monthly theme and take turns bringing weekly entries to satisfy that theme.
We got a new theme.
We do, a new theme
month,
for the
new
month.
theme.
Month of July. We are kicking off Mockumentary Month, where we will be watching 4 movies that are created like documentaries, but they of course are fictitious, so they are mockumentaries. Hence kicking off your pick this week, Drop Dead Gorgeous. So I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
And I am Curtis.
And we are here to talk about Drop Dead Gorgeous. But before we get there, I want to throw out a shout out to Patreon subscriber Don S. Thank you, Don, for your monthly support. As always, if you would like to support the show and have access to mini episodes, hear your name screamed from the rooftops.
Heard by millions.
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 Yeah, there are people that don't even realize what they're listening to.
No.
Yeah. And we say heard by millions because we have we take turns. You probably, I know you remember, we're letting our listeners know that we did purchase the car from the Blues Brothers that have the bullhorns.
Yeah.
And we take turns driving it up and down busy city streets, just blaring our podcast. So even if you don't subscribe, you've heard us.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I live half an hour away from Wakanda, Illinois, where they actually filmed the beach sequence.
Yes.
Yes, Oz, you were quite familiar with that community as well.
Yes. We pass the Volo car museum all the time.
Yeah. So. Now you do that. What I do is I take transcripts of each episode and just stand on the corner holding a sign that says the end is nigh, and I just
put it on a.
Yes.
You don't put it on a scroll and start with a hear ye, hear ye.
No. It's I have my the end is nigh sign, and I just scream transcripts of our show at people.
Yeah. It's end is nigh on one side and eat at Joe's on the other.
Well.
So, all right. Drop Dead Gorgeous.
What do we got for characters? Yeah, Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Movies like this movies like this survive solely on the cast and how well they play their characters. I feel mockumentaries, they don't contain a lot of action. There's not a lot of, they're just based in reality.
Yes.
Yeah, just enough to string together the jokes. And so we've got just kind of a basic premise here. We've got a beauty pageant going on, and so many of our cast members are either going to be contestants in the beauty pageant or family members of the contestants. So we've got Amber Atkins, played by Kirsten Dunst. As you get into the plot, I'll let you maybe elaborate a little bit more of what separates these girls from each other. And
sure.
Ellen Barkin plays Annette Atkins, who is Amber's mother. And couple trailers down lives Loretta, played by Allison Janney.
Two trailers down.
2 trailers
boys
down.
Gonna give me a ride home. She lives 2 trailers down.
Right.
Oh my god!
This movie,
I'll completely. Yeah. Oh, I love those two. Those.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely.
But sorry, they're so good at this.
Yeah, and so whether you've seen this 100 times or your first time, you've got the other side of the spectrum of Amber Atkins.
Yes.
You've got Rebecca Ann Leeman, played by Denise Richards, who is your born with a silver spoon in her mouth, supposed to win beauty pageants her whole life type of persona, with her mother played by Kirstie Alley, Gladys Leeman, who is probably the same, former beauty pageant winner. And now, that's our hierarchy. We have to do this. Other cast members, and there's so many, I didn't even try to mention them all.
Yeah.
We've got Gladys's kind of right-hand lady, Iris, played by Mindy Sterling. We have a couple other beauty pageant contestants, Lisa Swenson, played by the late Brittany Murphy, as well as Leslie Miller, played by Amy Adams, in her feature film debut.
Yeah, very first IMDb entry.
Stole the movie, in my opinion. We have last year's Mount Rose beauty pageant winner, Mary Johansson, played by Alexandra Holden. You may recognize her as Ross's college girlfriend from Friends. I had to look that up because I'm looking at this girl and I'm like, I know that face. I can't place it. And I looked it up and saw who she was. And then 3 more that kind of get bunched together. We've got, and I left the actors' names off. We've got 2 judges, John Doe and Harold Vilms. And then Harold Vilms' son, played by Will Sasso. I wasn't feeling the greatest yesterday when I was typing up this stuff. So, like, I've got things. I have John Doe, Harold Vilms, Will Sasso. Like, I didn't even put his character's name down. He was just playing Will Sasso. I had Amy Adams, played by Leslie Miller. Like, that's just where I was. So there are a lot more characters. There's a 3rd judge that doesn't say a word. You've got Rebecca Ann Lehman's dad, who owns a furniture store in town. You've got so many other characters in the movie, but amongst different contestants as well. But that was really, I feel like, the ones that got the majority of the screen time, or that were memorable, and how you could go with it. So, all right, take us down this fun-filled. I won't call it an action pack, but this movie just go for it.
So I think it's also important to note this movie was directed by Michael Patrick Jan, and the was it like behind the fictional camera narrator is Tom Lennon? Thomas Lennon. So we have two people who co-founded the state, who are founded Reno 911, and you see a lot of that style of humor. Hot American Summer. Like these types of shows and productions. So
the only thing I'll add is probably a little different is I don't think everybody in this cast could pull off improv. So I think there probably was quite a bit scripted, as opposed to like a Christopher Guest, where you just lay down the basis of a scene and then let your performers take over. So, but I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. I think there was probably more of a structure to this script.
Yes, I would agree.
Than what we may be seeing in future weeks this month. But
I don't know if I could see Denise Richards pulling off
no.
Like here's where the scene begins and here's where it ends. However you get there is your choice.
Just get from A to Z, Kirstie Alley.
And you're met by a blank stare back.
Yes. I think young Kirsten Dunst probably could have held her own.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot she's just funny. Like,
I
mean, she was great in Bring It On, and which Bring It On, of course, is not a mockumentary, but I feel it falls in the same vein as this. I'll touch on a little bit later in our 3, 2, 1s, but yeah, she was hilarious. I forgot how funny she is. Just the timing was perfect.
I should say almost everybody is.
Yeah, almost.
Which I'm sure will come back up later as well.
Yes,
I think it will. Not without its flaws. Yes, well said. So we open, as far as the plot goes, on small town Mount Rose, Minnesota, kind of every town USA kind of community.
Every conservative town USA community.
Yes, yeah, basically. And they're preparing for the Sarah Rose Comics copyright of American Teen Princess Pageant in Mount Rose.
Yeah,
so
right.
So we get a little bit from Sarah Rose Cosmetics, the company, the fictitious company that sponsors this nationwide beauty pageant. We opened on a commercial for it. It has like a 70s Isaac Hayes style kind of
Yeah.
kind of funk music, and this sort of like sexualized male voiceover. Sarah Rose knows you're a beautiful person. Sarah Rose knows you're a teenage girl.
I just love it. Sarah Rose Cosmetics, helping teenagers be like pretty for 50 years or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it's Adam West pops in.
Yeah, couldn't do it without us.
Yeah. So again, that really kind of gives the vibe for the movie right here, or within those first 60 seconds or so. We then jump into meeting the characters, which is what the bulk of the movie is. You just kind of pop around from character to character, those little vignettes that they do. We meet Gladys. It's a Kirstie Alley in a wonderful Minnesota accent, talking to a handful of girls in a gym. Help yourself to coffee and bars.
we need bars. We're out of bars.
Bars. Help yourself to coffee and bars. We meet Mindy Sterling, hot off the success of Austin Powers.
Yes,
which she was also in there in the late '90s as well. Gladys is talking to these girls who are learning about the competition and deciding whether or not to participate. And
seem really into it.
Yeah, she's talking to the camera. She's railing against the big city libbers who are against
St. Paul.
Minneapolis, who are
St.
against
Paul.
pageants. You won't find a back room in our video stores. You betcha, Iris. She and Iris go to the Mall of America to pick up some outfits, and she parks in a disabled spot and tells Iris that if she sees a insert disabled slur coming, she'll move. Which, again, one of the criticisms that this movie got from both audiences and critics was how, mean-spirited was a word that I've seen in several reviews that I read about it. Inappropriate is also a word that you could use. Aspects of this movie have not aged well. This is definitely one of them. However, it does do a job of letting you know some of these characters are just awful people.
Oh yeah. It
does that. Yes, I don't know if I'd say effectively, but it definitely lets you know a couple of these characters are terrible people.
But they're not though, because they're good Christians.
Yes, as they themselves will tell you.
Yeah, I'm a good Christian, but so I don't see the error of my ways.
Yes. Yeah, as I even have in my notes, the film within those first few minutes is really establishes very clearly that this is a stereotypical small rural Lutheran conservative town, conservative in every aspect of that word.
Yeah.
We then meet the participants, Oz. The aforementioned Amy Adams. We get to meet her as Leslie. She's a cheerleader who has a very unhealthy relationship with her boyfriend. I'll say very affectionate. Might be one word to use.
Right. It looked healthy. They look like they exercised often.
Worked up quite a sweat.
It's a very healthy relationship.
Yeah. We meet Kirsten Dunst as Amber, a very poor blue collar, lives with her alcoholic mother in a trailer park, wants to be Diane Sawyer, Oz.
Yeah,
and she's a
very
dancer.
It's the second most important woman in her life. Diane Sawyer.
She works at a funeral home when she's not attending high school, does hair and makeup on the deceased, and she practices her tap routine while doing so.
Yeah, when she's not clearing lunch trays.
Yes.
So like she goes to a high school that employs a student to clear lunch trays during her lunch.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
You gotta eat lunch today, Amber? No, I gotta work.
Let's shame the poor, which apparently
that's right.
This town has no problem with.
Is she so poor that her public high school has a work-study program?
Exactly. She had to complete the FAFSA when she was 14 to do that.
Yeah, you got to work during your keep here at our public high school.
FAFSA joke.
Our listeners love a good FAFSA joke.
Oh, yeah. There's no joke that rings as true as federal financial aid. We hop back to Gladys. You could tell I'm a school counselor. We hop back to Gladys, who reveals that when she was 17, she was also the wiener. And that her daughter, Rebecca, Becky Ann Leeman, is participating this year. It's her year to shine. Rebecca wears a cross necklace, Oz. She practices at the Lutheran Sisterhood Gun Club.
Yeah.
Mom gave her a gun, and the card that she gave her with the gun on the inside, it says Jesus loves winners.
It's in the Bible.
It's in there. We meet Lisa, played by Brittany Murphy. She wants to go to New York. She loves show tunes, and her brother, right. It is heavily implied, is a successful drag queen, which her parents don't know about.
Right, not yet.
Not yet. We meet a couple of the other characters. I'll buzz through them really quick because they're more inconsequential.
They don't matter.
We have Tess, who's a very big dog lover, has pictures of dogs everywhere in her house.
She's got a great talent too. I love her talent.
Yep. I'm not going to go too far into this one. We have Molly, who is a white girl who was adopted by an Eastern Asian couple.
Oh yeah, another
yeah.
Yeah. And then takes pride in her Asian American heritage later.
Yes, she identifies as Asian American. So they also have a biological daughter who they pretty much ignore.
Yeah.
Enough about Molly. We have Michelle, who's a dark theater girl, wants to be an actor.
I love that part. Soylent Green.
Yeah. Her talent is reciting Soylent Green. We have Janelle, who wants to do an interpretive dance using American Sign Language, despite the fact that she's not deaf. And then we have Tammy, who's the athlete, successful in school, well
she's
spoken.
A winner.
Yeah. She signed up for the pageant to try to expose herself to scholarships. She is the president of the gun club. She actually won that title against Becky Ann.
Yeah.
Cut to Tammy riding on her tractor at the family farm, which then explodes, killing her.
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
yeah, we're 10 minutes into the movie. Yeah, we're 10 minutes into the movie. Tammy's dead. Yeah, she's dead. She was riding her tractor, giving her voiceover about who she is and kind of how successful she is, and she mentions that she beat out Becky Ann to be president of the gun club, and boom!
The documentary crew's like filming her just riding over a hill. She's waving, and then her thrasher explodes.
Yeah. And we go back to the funeral home where Amber is preparing her for her funeral. We also meet Mary Johansson, the reigning Mount Rose pageant winner. Without going into detail, Mary Johansson.
I wouldn't be surprised if Lloyd Kaufman had a ghostwriting credit on this movie.
Yeah,
I just feel
places. Yeah,
I just feel like they go like trauma level deep of like, hey, if we're gonna be despicable, let's just go all the way. And they do in this.
This movie pulls no punches.
They know they're gonna be offensive, and so they're like, let's just do it. Mm-hmm. And instead of doing it with like, Z level nobodies in a trauma film, you're pulling Kirsten Dunst, Kirstie Alley, Ellen Barkett. You've got like big time up and comers, big time. You've got a star-studded cast here.
And several of which were already established.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, we'll say and do whatever you want us to. Ugh.
Yeah. So we have Mary Johansson, the reigning Mount Rose pageant winner, who is hospitalized in the hospital's eating disorder wing, which is just down the hall from the burn ward.
For the burn ward, yeah.
Yeah. Rebecca comes in as Amber's doing Mary's hair and makeup, and Rebecca knows that the camera crew is there and brings Mary a box of chocolates, despite
the eating
Mary's
disorder
condition. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Amber reveals she wants to get out of town. She wants to go into journalism. Again, the aforementioned Diane Sawyer.
Yep.
The boys get out of Mount Rose all the time, mostly for hockey and prison. But this is an opportunity.
You can't all be so lucky.
Then we get to meet who, in my opinion, are the characters, actors who steal the show. We meet Ellen Barkin's Annette Atkins, Amber's mom. They're doing an interview with Amber in a room, and Annette walks in and sees the camera crew and gives her daughter some advice. Make sure you get the money first before you take off your top.
It's like
that's experience, life experience.
And she's a very loving mother too.
Yes, she is. They actually have a good relationship.
Yeah.
She loves her mother, but
it's you chalk it all up to Ellen Barkin's performance too, because even when Amber's discussing the two most important people in my life are my mom and Diane Sawyer, and then she just keeps talking about Diane Sawyer, you almost feel like she threw mom in there because she's supposed to. And then we meet mom and she gives that little piece of worldly advice. and we think, well, she's living up to being an awful mother. But she's not. She's not. She cares very much about her daughter and her success.
Yeah, she does. Like, she's an alcoholic, which you could tell has probably been a thing between the two of them.
Yeah.
But other than that obvious, fault, they have a loving relationship.
And, throw Loretta in there. I mean, and Loretta cares very deeply about the two of them.
Yes, she does. One of you boys want to give me a ride home? She lives 2 doors down.
Just staring straight into the camera when she says it. Just
with a eating grin on her face.
I don't even care which one. Just
we momentarily meet Rebecca and Gladys home, the Leeman home. We meet the dad there, who is also clearly a drunk. You learn that he owns the local furniture store, so that's where their money comes from. And he's also a terrible person as well.
Oh, he's awful.
Yeah, he uses some language, racist and anti-Semitic language.
Quite often.
Yes. Doesn't.
Yeah,
like
it's and that's just it. Is the awful people in this movie the words are part of their vocabulary. It isn't. It isn't. I'm gonna pull it out of my pocket to offend you. It's just part of how I talk.
This is who they are. They're not doing it for shock value. That's their worldview, and that's their value system. And it's terrible, but they don't know that. They don't realize that.
No, because
if you were to try to confront them on it, they.
Then there's something wrong with you, because I'm a good person.
Exactly.
Because I said so.
Yeah. You and I know many people like that, my friend.
Oh, yes.
Yep. We then meet the judges. I'm spending a little bit more time on the characters here at the beginning, just because the plot's pretty thin, and I feel like, as you mentioned before,
it really is.
The characters are what really makes the movie. We then meet the judges. We start with the pharmacist.
We haven't gone creepy yet, but don't worry, we're there now.
Without going into detail, this pharmacist has his own motives for being a judge in a pageant with teenage girls.
Yeah, but don't worry, he's not into that thing.
No,
he's not into that. Why would he be? Why does he carry a camera in his?
We meet another one of the judges you mentioned before, who never talks, who is actually the screenwriter.
Yes, I did see that, and former pageant contestant.
Yes, so she can talk from actual experience. Just very using this word, descriptively conservative woman.
Yes,
and her dress and mannerisms, and
she works. Yeah, and she works for Becky and Lehman's dad.
Yes,
so there's
that's the connection.
Yeah, there's no influence on this pageant at all.
No ethical wrongs there at all.
When the host of the pageant is a contestant's mother, and the sponsor of the pageant is the contestant's dad, and the judge of a pageant is a contestant's dad's employee, it's.
Then we meet the last judge, who owns the local hardware store and has a son played by Will Sasso with a developmental disability. As much as I enjoy parts of this movie, you could pretty much edit out everything that has to do with that character, and the movie would retain its value and lose this incredibly problematic element.
Yes. And the sad part is that character I feel is in there specifically because there's a lot of humor in this movie that people who think that character is funny are not going to get the majority of the humor. And so it's like it's a you know, covering all our bases kind of a, you know, if we put in this developmental, you know, this disabled character, and we chalk up all of the awful stereotypes we could throw in there and make him funny, then he'll get laughs. So if some of these little one-liners fall flat for some people, well, they'll worry, they'll laugh at Will Sasso.
Yeah. Well, and it's things like, you know, there's a sequence where he runs into a like a glass window and bounces off.
Yeah. Right.
Or like the overalls get caught in the car door. Like those are things that, you know, in isolation you could find funny, but when you put them in the context of of the joke is he has a developmental disability, therefore he's not. That's where it gets mean, and that's where it gets wrong.
Oh yeah, absolutely. These are all things, and coincidentally so, ironically so, these are all things that the Three Stooges would do, and they're funny when the Three Stooges do them. And ironically, Will Sasso was in the Three Stooges movie. Yeah. So, but it's like, but no, if we make him, you know, if we make him mentally disabled, well, then they're not funny.
Yeah. Then it's
unless you are a mean person, like many of the characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Then
just unnecessary.
As an audience member, you're now laughing at them. Oh, it's unnecessary and hurtful. And that is not the type of comedy we chose for this mockumentary. It just happens to be there, and so
So, as we move forward in the plot, as said before, Amber works in the school cafeteria. The captain of the football team is getting his food, and he kind of blows off Becky Ann. Her attempts to woo him, so he can go hit on Amber, and he's dead.
Yeah.
Cut to him at the funeral home with a bullet between his eyes, hunting accident eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, she didn't even know he was there till she whips because they were gonna like do something that night or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, he asked her out.
Yeah, she pulls back the sheet, and he's dead.
Yep. So we meet. I'm chuckling because as I look over at my notes and I see Loretta. So that's when we meet Loretta, played by Allison Janney. She sees the camera crew and immediately cozies up to him. So they're back at Amber's trailer, and she asks Annette if they're on Cops again. Apparently, this town gets visited by the TV production for Cops a lot. Let's see at the funeral home. Yeah, so we got the football player. Amber reveals that she got a threatening picture in her locker.
Yeah.
So something's
you're
up.
next.
Yep. Yeah, picture of Tammy with "you're next" on the back of it. And then we're Amber's back at the funeral home, and they get a frantic call. There was an accident at the trailer park, and it turns out that Amber's trailer blew up.
Yeah. Yeah, she got called into work.
Yeah.
Because the film crew shows up at her house looking for her, and she got called down to, I can't remember what her mom referred to. Just real insensitive comment about the funeral home. She was supposed to be home and got called out because of the boy getting shot between the eyes.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
So Annette was home and got caught in the explosion. She was able to save, her words, she was able to save Amber's tap shoes by shoving them in her panties. But also in the carnage, she was drinking a Miller High Life, and her Lee press-on nails melted into the can, thus fusing the can to her hand.
ruined a new set of Lee press-ons.
Yep. So she's hospitalized.
So she's forever like clutching a beer can now. It's like melted.
Yes.
She's like Mr. Roboto.
Yeah. So Amber's talking to Loretta at the hospital, and she tells Loretta she's going to quit, and Loretta guilt trips her. she goes to talk to her mom. Her mom hits her in the head with the beer can. It's fused to her hand, and they end up talking Amber into staying. So she's gonna stay in the contest, Oz.
I don't know if you're serious or if it's a concussion talking, but
yeah. Amber even reveals a little bit about her father. He picked his career over family.
Right.
Once
like
a carny, always a carny. She still cries every time she sees a tilt-a-whirl. And then we basically cut to the pageant, like the pre-pageant and the pageant, and there's some interviews they do with the girls beforehand, and when it gets Amber's turn, like the other girls kind of get like softball pageant-y type questions with the judges. And when it's Amber's turn, she has her own special set of questions. Name and spell all 50 states in alphabetical order.
Right.
Which she then nails.
Just like, are you... Yeah. And like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah. So she's ready. Amber's in. She's ready to win this. And despite the fact that the cards are stacked against her, Oz. And then the pageant begins. Of course, Gladys is the MC for it.
Yeah.
She says off, or on camera, off stage, it's sad. Every one of these girls, except one, is going to walk away a loser. So that's Gladys's
as much as I don't like Kirstie Alley, she really did nail this role.
She did, yes, yeah. You gotta give credit where credit's due as far as the performance goes. Yeah.
Although I wouldn't be surprised if this was probably more accurate a presentation than some of the other characters played.
Well, I read in one of the trivia, I can't remember if it was IMDb or Wikipedia or whatever, that she gave the production crew kind of a hard time because they wanted her to try on some costumes.
Yeah, it was IMDb. I think I read this.
And she insisted that they get sent to the Scientology celebrity center or something. Yeah. Something wacky like that. So, ugh.
Yeah, she wasn't going to try them on for him there. Send him to the Scientology church. We'll do it there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. So the pageant's about to begin. Loretta and Annette show up. Loretta's got a cheetah print tube top on, and Annette's there in her wheelchair, and you got her IV hanging, and she's hopped up on pain meds.
Yeah.
She tried to jump out of the truck on the way there. Good thing for the bungee cords, though.
Oh man.
So after the opening number, Amber accuses Becky of stealing her tap outfit, and they get in a big fight backstage. So there's, Amber's onto this. She knows that things are, something's out to get her, and she thinks it's Becky. And probably for good reason.
Everything
she's experienced, Well, they bring out Mary, last year's winner, who does her rendition of her lip sync of Don't Cry Out Loud.
Her talent is lip syncing.
Yeah.
Hey, why not? Why not?
Yep.
Milli Vanilli won a Grammy doing it.
They did. That's you're not wrong. Gladys continues to basically make the event about herself, constantly talking about herself and her past, and everyone likes my dress, right? The girls do a collective dance number with freshly painted step stools, which has some great set gags involved.
It did. That was funny because it was like one of the rare times. Excuse me. One of the rare times in the movie where all the contestants seemed on board with each other. Mm-hmm. Like when they all picked up, they're like, "Don't forget your step stools," and even Becky's like, "It's still wet." Like they all were just put off by the wet paint on the step ladders, and then went out and did it anyway. So that was kind of cool to see that there was a brief moment where they all were frustrated with the same thing.
Yes. Just to paint the picture literally for our listeners here. The girls are all in white shorts. Kind of bright red shirts, and these little two-step step stools that are they're prop for dancing. Has fresh blue paint, bright blue paint on top of it.
Yes.
And several of the choreographed moves involve them sitting on it or putting their hands on it and then immediately putting their hands on their white shorts.
Yeah,
or
straddling
leaning on
it. Or So Judge John Doe is about to lose it.
Yeah. Oh God, yes, yeah, that's an understatement. They it's basically just fast forwarding here. It's time for Amber to do a routine, and she can't because she doesn't have her pre-approved outfit.
Right. Yeah.
The dance choreographer lets her use her. She brought kind of a backup, but even that, it wasn't pre-approved. And so was it Lisa? I think. Yeah. The Brittany Murphy character lets her use her outfit
because she drops out of the pageant halfway through the pageant. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna win. I quit. Whatever.
Yeah, but it was sweet of her to do it, and you
very much so. Yeah,
the Lisa character, who I think resembled Brittany Murphy in a lot of ways, was very genuine and had a lot of like the Brittany Murphy-isms, like kind of exaggerated laughter. And
yes,
just
giggly and
yes. But genuine and like welcoming at the same time. So
yeah.
It wasn't like the annoying like ha ha ha, somebody who's still engaging but pulls that off. Yeah. Brittany Murphy doesn't have a big part in this movie, but every time she's on screen, she steals that scene.
Oh, absolutely. She seems most at peace with who she is.
Mm-hmm.
She's just like her hero is her brother. And I'm just, hey, I'm not gonna win this. Whatever, my costume's been approved. You can have it. She can't tell you no.
Yeah, she doesn't need to win. Like she doesn't.
Right.
Like she knows she's gonna be fine. And and I think in her own way, this isn't explicit, but I think she knows that like winning this would probably do more for Amber than for her.
Oh
it would mean more to Amber than it would mean more to her, and so she does the right thing, and she gives Amber her outfit, and Amber goes out and gives her tap performance and gets a standing ovation from the crowd. Even Mr. Leeman stands up.
Exactly.
Like,
Yep, that was good.
Yeah.
It didn't top Becky Ann's though.
Yep. Becky, who actually performed before Amber, back in my notes here, but whatever. Again, it doesn't really matter. She comes out and starts singing a very poorly performed version of "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You."
It's awful.
In reference to Jesus.
Yeah.
And she then brings out a prop, folks, and that prop is the cross.
Jesus on the cross.
Jesus on it. So she ends up singing and dancing quite literally with Jesus.
Yes. Because his hands are Velcroed. He's like made of pillow. So she just unvelcros his hands and wraps them around her neck as they dance around the stage with Jesus on the cross.
Well, and it's, and we didn't get into this earlier in the plot description as well, but like she's very scripted. Everything she does is very scripted and very performative. Yeah. And she's playing to her audience. She knows the town she lives in. She knows the biases and stereotypes these people have.
She is a stereotypical pageant girl, future politician.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows how to read the room, and I'm sure Gladys had a lot to do with it as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she has no personality. Her personality is whatever she needs it to be at that moment.
Yeah, is everything is performative to her. Then we cut to the winners. I love this. The second runner-up gets a $50 scholarship to the Votech school of her choice. It's not just a $50 scholarship; it has to be to a Votech school.
Right.
And it goes to Leslie, Amy Adams, cheerleader.
She's so excited.
She thinks she wins second place.
I got second place. He goes second.
I got second place. Like, you won third.
Yeah.
Go Muskies. Yeah. And the first runner-up gets a $75 scholarship, and that goes to Amber Atkins. So Becky is crowned the winner. She gets a $500 scholarship, courtesy of Leeman Furniture. Yeah. And the chance to go perform at State. Oz?
I got this vibe when Gladys read that. Of course, they never showed it, and it doesn't need to be shown. But I got the vibe when Gladys read, like, second place. Like, she seemed very irritated that Amber's name was being called.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost got the vibe that Becky Ann Lehman's name was on that tag.
Yeah.
And that's why she grimaced and then said Amber Atkins' name anyway, knowing that no one else is going to, who's going to call her out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was a weird delivery because you would have thought she would have been more excited to see Amber Atkins win second, knowing she didn't win first.
Yeah.
But that was I'm like, oh, I bet she read the wrong name on purpose. But
Well,
yeah,
she never did get the winner envelope open.
No, she didn't.
She goes,
No, she
and my it's my daughter. It's my daughter.
she
Becky,
wins.
Becky Leeman.
She's a wiener.
She's a winner. We'll go out and have some bars. Gladys then yanks the sash and crown off of poor Mary in her wheelchair there.
Oh, she's so happy, Mary.
Yeah. Oh, and then the following day, there's a parade. Lester, again, indicates where they had the float made. It was not in America. And he says some more incredibly racist things. Incredibly racist things. Again,
yes.
Further driving home how terrible of a person he is.
Even Becky Hand about the float, she goes, it smells like gasoline.
Just use the special paint. Just stand there.
Right.
There's also a quick moment between Becky and Gladys. You can tell that they have an adversarial relationship.
Oh yeah.
I think Becky I think gets it enough. She knows what her mom is. I think that she's. I'm not saying that Becky is the brightest bulb because again she's still very performative, but she gets it.
Yeah, I think I mean, some of that may just be the 17-year-old daughter of any parent. Where it's like just embarrassed by their parents. And everything in the pageant the night before was embarrassing out of Gladys. Just showboating and, making it all about her. So with that, even though she won, I could see Becky just being, oh, my mom's awful.
Well, I think she recognizes how awful her mom is. And she recognizes how competitive her mom is. And how to Gladys, it's about Gladys. It's not about Becky.
Yeah.
Becky's win is for Gladys.
Yeah.
Becky's win elevates Gladys's status.
Yeah, which of course makes, in some ways, makes Becky just like Gladys because now she's always pining to be the best because that's how she's been raised. You have to be the best.
Yeah, you're a winner. Everybody else is losers. Jesus likes winners.
Jesus likes winners.
So Amber and Leslie are on a float behind the winning float,
which is a swan.
Giant swan. Yeah, giant swan. There's a pyrotechnic aspect to it, and so Gladys lights it, and there's a conversation. The camera's kind of behind Amber and Leslie, pointed forward at the big swan, and there's a giant.
As Leslie's telling Amber, if I die, make sure to cover the hickeys on my neck, and the one here, and the one here,
and the bite mark on my ears, and,
and the one on my thigh, and
And then Oz, what happens as they're talking to each other?
The swan just blows up with Becky Ann at the top. Like just the end. Like that's the end of Becky Leeman. Yeah.
Kind of like Tammy earlier.
Yeah.
Tractor just explodes out of nowhere. This time this explodes and it's fully on camera.
Yeah.
So Gladys is hysterical. Her daughter was just blown up in this tragic accident. The swan ate my baby. The second thing she says, though, is, we gotta go to state.
Right.
Becky, get up. We gotta go to state.
She's delirious.
Yeah. And her true motivations come out. She just starts screaming at the crowd. She just lays in and calls them all losers, calls Amber trailer trash. She says she should have killed her when she had the chance. She fully admits to killing Tammy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And so, yeah, she's arrested. She just owns all of this right there. At the funeral, Iris, who is now assumed...
the lead. She's the head.
The lead in the organization, the local chapter, gives Amber Becky's burned tiara, and she's going to state.
At the funeral.
At the funeral.
They crown her Miss Mount Rose at the funeral of the deceased Miss Mount Rose.
We get some more great Loretta moments here in the next couple sequences as they're preparing to go. So of course, Annette can't go because she's still hospitalized.
Every time we see her, she has less and less of her hand as well.
Yeah. So at home, they're Loretta is kind of prepping with Amber, and a delivery man drops off the instructions for the next step, and Loretta totally grabs the rear end of the delivery man. And for State, they're going to be at the airport. Hojo! So that's big news to them. Right by the airport!
They're both so excited.
Oh. So we fast forward a little bit. We're at State at the airport. Hojo, Nora Dunn is playing one of the state hosts. Pretty much all about her margarita, and that's it.
Oh yeah.
We get another great scene. Oh yeah, Loretta's flirting with this young bartender, just throwing olives in his mouth. And then there's a little bit of the performance-y stuff and prepping and all wetter, and then everybody stops and has a meal, Oz.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They had some special shellfish brought in.
It's all you can eat
Amber,
seafood.
while they're eating, Amber indicates that her mom told her you never eat anything that carries its home around with it.
Right, that's true.
You never know when the last time it was cleaned. So she's the
Mom's
only
just a fountain
contestant
of wisdom.
Yeah. So you can't say she's wrong though.
No, you can't.
Yeah, and so Amber's the only contestant who doesn't eat the shellfish and who eventually doesn't become violently ill. I love the little sequence where they're showing it the newsreel perspective of this. So it's like you're watching the film covering it, and they're just showing on the local news these girls just throwing up everywhere.
Oh yeah, all over the place.
It's
as
like
the cameraman says, millions of them.
Yeah,
millions of girls.
Is it Stand By Me where everybody's puking at one point?
Yeah,
what movie is it? Oh yeah,
it's Stand By Me. It's when he's telling the story of lard butt Hogan in the pie eating contest, but he ate raw eggs and castor oil beforehand just so that he could projectile vomit into the crowd, and then everybody's doing it. Oh yeah, Will Wheaton's telling that story to the boys. It was. Yeah. It was so funny.
Oh, so so she's moving on to nationals because she's the only one who's literally left standing
by default.
Yeah, she wins. Fast forwarding a little bit, we get a little sequence of Gladys in prison. She hasn't learned anything. She's cast vengeance out on everyone. Annette now has a hook for a hand. They show her practicing opening a beer by. She's trying to pull the tab with it, and she just gives up and just stabs the beer can
just
with the hook.
Shotguns it, yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe a fifth of it ends up in the cup, and then she just looks up all proud. I did it. So proud of herself. She's making progress, Oz.
It cracked me up too at the state competition when Amber Atkins shows up and it's clearly way in over her head.
Oh yeah.
Like. Everybody else there is just gorgeous and well dressed. I mean, they look like state pageant contestants.
Yeah.
And then there's Amber in like her, trailer park T-shirt or whatever, and she just looks way out of her element. You catch her at one point like staring at the chest of another contestant just because she looks like a woman compared to, and then of course, like you said, she wins because everyone else enjoyed the lobster and crab.
Everyone else is face down in their own vomit.
Yeah.
Including
a cameraman.
Yeah, that's right. One of the cameramen as well. Show him take it off on a stretcher.
There's a fun little scene too when the cops show up to take Gladys away, and we see our documentary crew and then a cops documentary crew, and they all know each other.
Yeah, that's during the epilogue. Gladys breaks out.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And she holds herself up, and and we'll come. Yeah. So yeah, she holds herself up and with a rifle, and she's trying to get Amber, and she wings a reporter, and Amber ends up getting into journalism because she picks up. This reporter gets winged with a bullet, and Amber picks up the microphone and is poised and confident and continues reporting right there.
It's like Diane Sawyer.
Yeah, just like Diane Sawyer. So it turns out that the nationals don't happen because as the bus full of girls arrives at the Sarah Rose headquarters in Alabama, which is like 90 stories tall.
Oh, it's massive.
They've they were seized by the IRS for tax evasion, so it doesn't even happen after all. And all the other girls riot, destroy everything, and Amber just gets back on the bus.
It's like they didn't know beforehand. Like, oh well.
And then there's a little epilogue sequences, and turns out it ends with Amber as the lead anchor on a network news in Minneapolis, on her way to becoming Diane Sawyer.
Yep.
And that, folks,
before she becomes Veronica Corningstone.
And that, folks, is 1999's Drop Dead Gorgeous, a hilarious if uneven film.
Yes.
It's one of those Oz where, I'm sure this is going to come up in our 3, 2, 1s. We'll save it for that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So at this point in the episode, folks, we give our own unique rating to the film we've been watching and talking about. Oz, how would you rate Drop Dead Gorgeous?
I would give Drop Dead Gorgeous 7 contestants in the Mount Rose. The only reason there's 7 is because, well, Tammy got blown up. So, 7 contestants in the Mount Rose Miss whatever pageant.
Yes. I'm gonna give Drop Dead Gorgeous 8 plates of bars.
Bars.
Bars. To go with your lutefisk.
It was cool though, because I read in the trivia, I'm sure you did too, that they did like pretty extensive research of what small town Minnesota life was like, so they could throw that stuff in there. I'm like,
Jello salads and salads and casseroles and
bars.
Bars.
It's just just the vernacular of certain things and keeping it. Well, that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, you betcha. All right, and next up we have Outside Insight, where Oz and I each bring a non-professional, or some might say unprofessional, take someone's review that they posted to some forum on the interwebs. Oz, what is your Outside Insight?
Like I mentioned pre-show, mine reads more like someone's Facebook post. Crystal G from Rotten Tomatoes gives it 5 stars and says, "This is so funny. Peggy Everett has to see this." I don't know if she's trying to tag Peggy Everett, or I did a Google search for Peggy Everett, and there's some like artist, like she paints or something, but there's nothing that I saw show up in a quick Google search that let me know who Peggy Everett may be.
I'm sure you've been just left speculating about this mystery.
So Peggy, if you're listening and you haven't seen this movie,
I'm sure she is.
You need to go see Drop Dead Gorgeous. Crystal G, your friend on Rotten Tomatoes, says you must. It's 5 stars.
Crystal's looking out for you.
How about you?
I pulled 2 that are both so great for different reasons. I'll start with Miranda 727. I don't know if she's a pilot or what.
She's an airplane.
If you want a migraine, see this awful movie. This was possibly one of the worst films I've ever seen. I left the theater with a splitting headache. The movie was not funny, and the cast was awful, except for the young girl who giggled all the time, in all caps. Aside from her, I cannot believe that these Hollywood actors belittled themselves and took on such stupid roles. Stupid is not the word, despite the fact that she just used it. I felt as if I were watching a bad student film. The acting, again, was awful. I do not know how this movie got distribution. Oh, well.
Well, before you share your next one, let me share the one I just replaced. This is a 1-star review from Robin M on Rotten Tomatoes. Could have been something great, but instead it's another movie proving how dumb, vain, and superficial Americans really are. The only good part? Amy Adams, before her claim to fame. Forget Kirsten Dunst. She's a thing of the past. Just forget her.
The whole point of this movie is why this person said they didn't like it. Vain Americans.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. I read
Americans. We love beauty pageants. That's our thing.
I know. I read this too, and I'm like, this reads like somebody who probably would have been like a Gladys Leeman.
Yeah.
You know, the same people. Oh man, these beauty pageants, and I'm like, I'm like, Trump 2020. I'm like, you mean the guy who owned beauty pageants? Like,
yeah,
that guy. Yeah,
and who would walk into dressing rooms unannounced, but that's
right, because he owned the pageant. But yeah, it's like, yeah. So that was my other one. If you're going to share two, I might.
Sure,
as well.
why not? Why not? I'll do my this one's shorter, and I'm going to read it in a Minnesota accent the best I can.
All right. Apologize to those from Minnesota.
This one is posted also. Both of mine were from IMDb. This is Sir Conrad's 18. This so-called movie is not entertainment. It is a vehicle used to offend Christians and their religious beliefs. It is a very rude and offensive assault on Christianity, morals, and family values with its language and content. This so-called movie crosses well over the line. So they're not upset about, you know, some of the genuine things, like the really offensive parts of this movie. This person is offended because of the assault, because of what they were skewering.
Right. Oh yeah, and that's what you see in Twitter today. I mean, Twitter and Facebook posts from these super conservative politicians is they just complain that they're offended, but they never actually like admit that that's how they are.
Yeah. Oh, because it's all victimhood.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all, and I use that word performative to describe Becky's character. It's performative victimhood is really what it is.
Yeah.
Topic I'm sure we could talk about for hours on end.
Yeah.
However, that's our other podcast. Let's talk about divisive American politics.
Yeah. For hours on end.
And now, folks, we reached the moment you've been waiting for. Our signature segment. The 3-2-1, where Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the movie we've been talking about. In this case, Drop Dead Gorgeous. Oz, what are your 3 goods, my friend?
My first good is I love subtle yet very specific comedy tropes. And this movie was littered with them. Yeah. Movies like Napoleon Dynamite, to where they're comedies if you're paying attention. They're comedies if you're listening or if you're watching. You know, but if you've just got this on in the background, this movie is going to be ineffectual for you. And even though Napoleon Dynamite, which I just cross-reference, is not it's not a documentary or mockumentary by any means, but it still is like like I said, the attention to detail on what rural Minnesota life was like, and peppering that in here. And Napoleon Dynamite did the same thing with what life was like in Idaho. It's just, I love it. I just love that. We're not going to play this up like a laugh track. We're not going to pause and wait for our audience to laugh, or whatever. We're just going to deliver the fun. And if you get it, awesome. That means you're our target. And if you missed it, well, here's Will Sasso.
Yeah.
So that's my first one. My second one is, Amy Adams' performance. Just, so many of them were funny, but I'm like, this is like her first thing. Like, she was nobody yet, and she still is just charming and perfect and just nailed the character. And I saw somebody write a review and Letterboxd that was like, even in a fictitious world, Amy Adams can't win the award. It's just like, what are we waiting for, Academy? Give this woman an Oscar. But no, she was awesome in her role. Much like Brittany Murphy stealing her scenes, Amy Adams stole hers. And it would have been fun, to be like, if that's where you fell in love with Amy Adams as a performer, and then to watch her career grow, you'd be like, it wouldn't surprise you at all. Yeah. And so, 3, I like that this movie, and I'm making another movie comparison here, I like that this movie glorifies and pokes fun at the same subject matter. Bring It On did the same thing with cheerleading. I felt Bring It On, when it came out, was like a perfect movie where I felt like you didn't have a fan or like a demographic you didn't satisfy. If you hated cheerleading, you loved Bring It On. If you loved cheerleading, you loved Bring It On. And so I felt this movie played that a lot with pageantry as well. Like, if you're not a fan of beauty pageants, you would have found this movie so funny and poignant and on spot. And if you were a product of beauty pageants, this would have been a comfort zone for you. It would have been like, yep, it's exactly how things are like. And so, and especially knowing that the screenwriter was a former beauty pageant contestant. And so those are my three goods. I just thought they did such a good job.
Yeah, just adding to yours really quick. In some ways, this movie, it kind of reminds me of King of the Hill in some ways, the TV show. And it's not just because of Brittany Murphy, but it's kind of going back to what you said, kind of you put into my own language, like a movie that can celebrate, the positive, healthy aspects of a practice or a culture or like, like a region, but while also poking fun at it at the same time. Like in King of the Hill, they like, I mean, you know pretty early like who Hank Hill is and kind of what he stands for and where his moral compass is and things like that. However, despite the fact that you might disagree with his politics or things like that, he's a good person. He helps his neighbors. He's a good dad. He's a good husband. He works hard. And it celebrates all the positive things about, in the King of the Hill lens, like sort of that like Texan culture, while also poking fun at the things that obviously it's lesser than it also. So it's, I got that very similar vibe from this movie. All right, my three goods. I'm a big fan of sight gags. So I'm a big fan of fun sight gags, and this movie is chock full of sight gags.
Oh yeah.
Whether it be the beer can fused to the hand, or
right.
or Alice and Janney, while the news report is covering all these girls puking at the state contest, Alice and Janney in the background is emerging from a hotel room with a man who's probably 10 years younger than her.
Yeah, with that bartender.
The bartender that she was throwing olives in the mouth. Just things like that. Just fun throwaway sight gags that don't necessarily do anything to the plot, but just you sprinkle them in and you do quick here and there, and it just adds to the fun. Sight gags are my first. My second would be just, you singled out Amy Adams. I'm going to just mention a couple of, just in some of the other individual performances. I couldn't narrow down, so I'm just going to mention three names here. Brittany Murphy, Ellen Barkin, and Allison Janney are all hysterical. Hysterical in this movie. I mentioned Brittany Murphy before, but Ellen Barkin and Allison Janney, like they nail their characters so well. Like I would have believed that they lived in trailers two doors down from each other.
I'd love to see like a sitcom with those two.
Yeah,
like reprising their character. Just run with it.
Like every time you saw their characters on screen, I found myself leaning forward more, just because I anticipated laughing, and they didn't disappoint every time they're on screen.
No, their energy and just they just worked so well together.
Yeah, and just like how the Amber and Annette characters had a for the most part healthy mother-daughter relationship. Loretta and Annette, and even Loretta and Amber also had very healthy relationships as well. And they had their quirks and they had their things, but for the most part these are good and good people with a good moral compass, and they enjoy each other's company and they take care of each other.
Right.
My last good would just simply be, and I won't go into detail on this, we've kind of peppered some of this in throughout, it's just some of the skewering of kind of like nationalism, and like early in the movie when they're in the Mall of America parking lot, Kirstie Alley's she's trying to brainstorm like this year's theme, and like all the themes in the past had the word America in it.
Yeah.
And it's it's I don't know. I get bothered by people who, I keep using the word performative, but it's like a performative demonstration of patriotism.
Oh yeah,
like,
I'm with you.
I can out patriotism you because my flag is bigger than yours, or because I use the word America more than yours.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
I've never understood it.
And so I don't know. I enjoy it when that practice is called out and made fun of, and I really enjoyed it in this movie. So Oz, despite the fact that this movie has many goods, there are some glaring bads. Ozzer, what are your
Yes.
2 bads for this movie?
I'm gonna steal. I don't know if I'm probably stealing it from your list.
Don't be afraid of stealing anything from me.
Let's get rid of Will Sasso's character completely.
Please.
There's no purpose in his character other than just moronic, imbecile people watching this movie to laugh at. Mm-hmm. And screenwriters and you guys could do better. You've done better. You do better. You are better than this. And so to throw this low-hanging fruit in there just to get a few more butts in the seats, it's, I don't know. It's like if this is what you find funny, then I don't want to share a movie theater with you.
Yeah. It's like the Mickey Rooney character in Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Yeah.
Like, just, it's not necessary.
No, even then, like, it's just, that character's not necessary. There's a big push right now in Hollywood, and it's understandable, we need to cast people in roles that are fitting for their orientation or racial background or whatever. And I get that. Even Tom Hanks came out recently and said that if they were to make Philadelphia today, he shouldn't play that character because, and he goes, and I shouldn't play that character. Like, you should have a gay man playing that character. But this character just shouldn't even be there. Like, I don't care that it's Will Sasso playing it. I don't want to see anyone playing this character. It would be even worse if you actually cast, a mentally disabled person to play this character. And so, that's my first bad. Is just get rid of Will Sasso's character.
Well, it's kind of like, you can, I don't know if I say get away with, but like, some of the other characters, like particularly like the Leeman family and some of the townspeople, I kind of reflected back on Blazing Saddles, like how did that movie toe that line between using this awful language and these, and establishing these people, and it's because these people, like, they're bad people, like they are racists,
they're not ignorant, and we talked about that in the Blazing Saddles episode, is that all the Johnsons of Rock Ridge, they were just ignorant people. They weren't bad people. They just didn't know any better. Whereas, the Leeman family and others in town, like, they're just awful people. Like, you feel like, well, let's look at the Johnsons. Okay, the Johnsons of Rock Ridge. Yes, they use the N-word to describe, the sheriff, but these are the same people that obviously his last name's Johnson, like the homeless, you look like the homeless guy that was like staying on the top, like they accepted him in their community. So they weren't casting off all things different. This was just something so foreign to Rock Ridge that they didn't know how to act until they brought him in and realized that at an individual level, he's a person. He's not a caricature of his background. Whereas like the Leemans, especially, Mr. Leeman, no one was safe from his racist wrath. No one was safe from his bigotry and just awfulness. And so I think, for me at least, that's the difference. Is that there? So get rid of. And then my second bad is, this movie's now 25 years old, and I'll admit I pay a lot more attention now than I did one year after I graduated high school. I didn't realize I was not a churchgoer growing up, and so I wasn't surrounded by churchgoers growing up. I just didn't realize even then, like, just how gross your quote unquote Christian values were, even back then. Like, it's just, you get to a point where you almost kind of look around and you're like, yeesh, and it just keeps like manifesting and it's just gross.
Well, and it's, and I don't want any listeners to confuse us, with like bashing Christianity or bashing Christians in and of themselves.
Absolutely not.
It's when the belief system is imposed on others in practice.
Yeah.
And it's, you can believe what you want to believe, and that's great. But when those beliefs turn into a practice that creates power differences and inclusionary differences like that, that's when it crosses the line.
Yeah, and when they happen so blatantly that they're no longer abiding by the Christian values.
Yeah.
To where like you've adopted your own definition of I'm better than you because I'm like, well, that flies in the face of everything.
Yeah.
that you supposedly believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we are in 2022,
what's the
no pun intended, staring down the barrel of this problem.
Yep. What's the I'll completely butcher the quote or the Bible verse, but like, that was at the rich man has a better chance of passing through the eye of the needle than going to heaven. So it's okay to have your belief system.
It's fine.
Yeah. All right. So my my bads, Oz. I felt that there was. By the way, those were big glaring ones on my list as well.
I figured they were.
Yeah. So that's why I said like it's okay. Like you're not stealing them from me. As far as the film itself, I felt that like the pacing was a little off, and as I was thinking about like what made the pacing off, it's because there was too many contestants.
Yeah,
like there, especially early to the mid part of the film, there was just they could have eliminated a couple of the contestants and given that time to focus a little bit more on Amber and Becky and the other leads.
And it would have been okay to even have the contestants, but just not showcase them as much as they did.
Yeah, like you didn't need to know about like Molly or like Michelle the theater girl or Tess the dog lover. Like pick one of them and that's fine.
Yeah.
As like the other contestant, but you don't need like 5 others who are just sort of there and need their own backstory. My other bad would be just the national sequence at the end seemed kind of tacked on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like I felt like it could have just ended at the end of the as they gave maybe at the state level, but I don't even know about that. Like it could have just ended after
cut out the national thing
after Becky blew up.
Well, it's like I understood, if you wanted to throw the Gladys escape from prison to give her Diane Sawyer moment. But yeah, the whole national, like that, you're right. That whole scene, like they all show up, the place is closed, and then they leave. Like it was 10 minutes of nothing.
I think the filmmakers were like, we're going to bring down big corporations with this statement. Okay.
Okay.
I see what you were trying to do there, but nah. Could have ended that a little earlier. Yep, so those are my 2 bads. Too many contestants impacted the pacing, and then the tacked on sequences at the end.
Yeah.
All right, so Oz, what's your one? All
right, was Gladys doing all the killing, or was Rebecca in on some of it?
I don't know. I was under the impression it was Gladys. You think Becky was in on it?
I don't know. See, she flirted with the football guy. And then he gets shot between the eyes that night and then the next time we see Becky, she's holding a shotgun or a rifle. I can't tell the difference. She's holding a rifle because she's now the new head of the Lutheran girls
gun club.
Yeah. So it's like all this jockeying to be the best. You just wonder, like, did she have anything to do? My other hun, this is a little side one. Why, like, nobody ever gets upset in this movie? Like, contestant whatever gets blown up on a tractor, full speed ahead. Amber's, like, crush gets killed and she's got to put makeup on his head. Oh, she seems fine. Full speed ahead.
Yeah.
Girl gets a can dropped on, gets a light dropped on her head in dress rehearsals. It's fine. Full speed ahead. Like...
Yeah.
It's like nobody in the community was like, huh. And it was obviously a statement trying to be made, but same time, like nobody paused to be like, should we? I mean, they even had a couple little cutaways to the police that were like,
she was. But it's like, well, she was smoking before she got on that tractor, so
right.
she was smoking and driving.
It's like. It just, but I mean, that was my first one was like, I couldn't tell even at the end, when Gladys accidentally blew up Becky, that it was like, was Becky in on any of it? Because I could easily see her being just cold and calculated, because she was pretty robotic the whole movie anyway. But that was my hunt. Was Gladys doing this alone, or was Becky, was she pulling the trigger on something too? Mm-hmm. How about you? What's your hunt?
How old was Gladys when she had Becky? At the risk of sounding judgmental, and not that there's anything wrong with this, but Gladys indicated that she was the past pageant winner. And the pageant is for 17-year-olds. And as she was emceeing, she said that 17 years ago, I was the reigning pageant winner. So was Gladys
probably
17? And again, and I'm not saying that to shame teen moms.
No, again, I know what you mean.
In the context of this incredibly conservative, Christian town, you'd think that would be more of a thing, and that Gladys wouldn't be celebrated the way she is.
But they have money.
Yes, and money trumps all.
Right. So it's like, but look at the impact they have in the community, and because she rose above it. Mm-hmm. If Annette has Amber at a young age, and then they grow up in a trailer park, well, then that's what caused it.
Yeah.
You messed up your life. But because, Gladys gets pregnant at a young age, and then probably from an older guy, and they run a furniture store, it's like, oh, that's water under the bridge. You see it happen all the time. They'll
get married. They were bound to be together. We'll make some bars.
Happens. We see it happen it happens very often down here. Mm-hmm. But it's like, as long as you don't talk about it, because you don't talk about age. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't talk about age, and as long as you kind of keep it quiet, to where as long as it doesn't get out, then nobody's going to care. Just don't let it weigh you down. Yeah, it happens. It's unfortunate, but it happens.
Yep, so folks, that was 1999's Drop Dead Gorgeous, kicking off Mockumentary Month here.
Yeah, it is.
So, Oz, what do we got in store for next week?
Oh, next week if we got a doozy. We are going to fast forward to 2014 to a man who's super hot right now. Taika Waititi of...
Taika.
He's got a movie coming out next... He's got a movie coming out this weekend, Thor, Love and Thunder, which I've heard excellent reviews for. I heard that it's just as good as Ragnarok, but gets rid of like the 20% Marvel stuffiness and just lets him go full Taika.
I've read a couple of things today, and at the time of this recording, we're on the eve of Thor, Love and Thunder being released. I read a couple of things today that were kind of poking hole, like the plot's too thin. Like the plot in Ragnarok was pretty thin too.
Very thin. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
although they were singing the praises of Christian Bale.
Oh well, and how could you not? Like the dude gives his full effort to everything. I read that he hasn't been this jacked since Batman, which he hasn't needed to be this jacked since Batman. So, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing this movie.
Got to return some videotapes.
But anyway, we are going to go to 2014, Taika Waititi, Jermaine Clement, written and directed movie, What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, Jermaine Clement.
Oh, he's so good. I'm so excited for you to see this movie. I'm looking at the cover of the poster, and you know how they put little snippets from reviews on a poster. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've got 12 here. They have 12 little blurbs from different reviews of the movie, and they all just have the word hilarious in quotes from different reviews.
Yeah.
But no, we're going to be watching What We Do in the Shadows, a mockumentary about what vampires do when they're not vamping. We have Viago, Deacon, and Vladislav are vampires who are struggling with the mundane aspects of modern life, like paying rent keeping up with the chore wheel, and trying to get into nightclubs, and the overcoming flatmate conflicts. And it is delightful. I have seen it a number of times. This is your first viewing?
It will be.
Oh,
It'll be my first viewing.
I am very, very, very looking forward to talking about it next week. And it is the inspiration for the FX show, What We Do in the Shadows, featuring the consistently great Matt Berry. Did you start watching that show?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm in season 2 right now, yeah, but it's great.
I think I'm in season 4. So you've got a taste of what...
Yes.
Yeah, so it's basically the same thing. But it's with a different cast. And it's the original. It's so good. It's so good. So that's what we're going to be watching for next week, What We Do in the Shadows. We're halfway through July already.
I know.
It's nuts. This is episode 36 we're on.
On the road to 30,000.
And we are, shall we unveil the news? You and I each are now new members of the Chicago Indie Critics Association.
I know, right? That's
kind of exciting.
That's big news for us. That's
So,
status. That's power
yeah.
and status. The two things I've always been after my entire life. Power and status.
Right.
I am someone. Listen up, Dad. I'm finally someone.
That's right. He's an affiliate member of the CIC. And so, actually come through our Patreon subscriber, Don S., who was one of the founders of the Chicago Indie Critics Association.
Thank you, Don. Genuinely,
and
thanks.
So, yes, and we greatly appreciate it, and we are both looking forward to it. We thought we'd have to play with Inside the Window because you were the only one of the two of us in the Chicago area. But I guess they just love us so much that they're like, we're going to extend our borders, and we're going to let Oz in.
We include the whole state.
That's right. Downstate Oz, you're part of it now. So
it's Cook and the Collar counties and then your county.
Right. Which is going to be interesting because it's like, I paid my dues this morning, so I'm all up to par. Paid my dues this morning, and I was reading like the bylaws, and I'm like, okay, access to like pre-screenings for review purposes. Well, I'm not driving all the way to Chicago to do that. It's like, you got to attend 2 meetings in person a year, and I'm like, okay. So that's going to be gas money. So yeah, this is Don S. If you're listening, this is already shaping up to be a one-sided beneficial program here. So unless those screeners start showing up in my inbox, I'm just going to keep sending them my money each year and hope that the rewards come. Hope the rewards come in more downloads to our podcast. So yes, we are now affiliate members of the Chicago Indie Critics Association. So if you are a follower of those guys, and maybe some of those guys will become followers of us, and we'll just start networking, and this will be fun. So I like talking about movies. So, all right, you got anything to share before we send off for the week?
No, I'm good to go, sir.
All right, so, this is episode 36, Drop Dead Gorgeous. We'll be back next week with episode 37, What We Do in the Shadows. Of course, you can find us on your favorite podcast app. You can find us on your favorite social media channels. You can also watch our beautiful faces on YouTube if you so wish to do so.
You can find us watching the hot dogs rotate at your local bodega.
You can do that as well. We are the people responsible for the Bodega Cats Instagram channel. No, we're not. We're not those people. So, all right, but for another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we will catch you on the flippity flip.
Flippity flip.